You can't start the car. Johnny has the keys.
Since we're in the Marvel universe, have you watched What If yet?
No.
Oh my God. You are so gonna love it.
Well, you mentioned the first one. Last time we had talked about it, you had just watched the first one.
Well,
with Captain Marvel or whatever.
no, Captain
or
America.
Captain America, female. Captain
Well, yeah,
America.
she's actually, I can't remember what they call her. What is her name? Peggy Carter?
Peggy
Captain
Carter.
Carter, I think is what they call her. Captain Carter.
Okay.
She wears like a Union Jack instead of an American flag. And she's a big butch woman, and she's still
she's
like
British,
scrawny little Steve Rogers. Well, but
always
what's so
did.
great, and this is why you are going to love this, is they're tying it all into the multiverses, because basically the what if concept is, what if this happened instead of this, because I am the watcher and I see all the things that happen in the multiverse.
Mhm.
So this one, Captain America, obviously ends up being Peggy Carter. The second episode, and what else you're going to love about this is, so far, all of these are taking place in the first phase of the Avengers, the first chunk of the movies.
Okay. Right.
The second one is, what if T'Challa was Star-Lord? And it's comedic, like Guardians. And everybody is in it. They brought back, well, I'll tell you who all they brought back. The only person they didn't get was Bautista, I think. Jeffrey Wright plays the Watcher. He's a great actor. You know him from Westworld.
Mm-hmm.
Chadwick Boseman's in it. Karen Gillian's in it. She plays Nebula. Josh Brolin is in it. He's Thanos. They're good guys in this. Michael Rooker is Yondu. Damon Hansu. I can't say that. Benicio del Toro. Kurt Russell. I mean, tons of fucking great stars are in this, even though it's a 30-minute cartoon. So check it out.
They've got the clout to do it. Did you see the trailer for Eternals that just dropped today?
No, I haven't seen anything since that original one. No.
Oh no, today the official trailer was released, and it is impressive.
Okay.
Very impressive. I was going, okay, I may not like, Lao Singh and the 10 Rings or whatever, but but I might like Eternals. We'll see. I mean, I don't know.
Shang-Chi. Isn't that what it's called? Shang-Chi?
Yeah, Shang-Chi. Yeah. And the 10 Rings.
I mean, I'm going to give it a whirl, but I'm not going to pay for it. I'm waiting until it just is on Disney Plus.
Yeah. Yeah. But I still haven't seen Black Widow either.
So. Same. It's same. I'm not going to see it until it's available on Disney Plus without paying $20 or whatever it is, because I'm already giving them money. I don't want to give them anymore. Well, speaking of the Marvel Universe,
don't you wish we could take time and rearrange it somehow, or just, create variations of time that would work?
Yeah, I do.
There's a great comedian. I wanted to set it up. There's a great comedian I follow on Facebook and everything else. She does a little post every now and then, and she has been doing this series where her future self comes back to visit her. So it's November 2019, and her present self comes back to visit her. And then she does another one where it's February of 2020, and her present self comes back to visit her. And it's so funny because she plays both parts, naturally.
Who is she?
Her name is, her last name is Nicole, like Nikle. Nokle is her last name. Nolke, or Nolk, I guess is her name.
Nokle.
Yeah. But she's like looking at herself across the table, and she goes, her past self is going, you keep staring at me. Why? And she goes, it's just neat to see somebody across the table here for real. She's going, what do you mean? Why do you say that? No reason. No reason. Because she can't tell her anything because she'll change the future.
You're so much thinner back then.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway.
That's funny.
So this is for Patreon, right? This is for all of our fun guys.
This is
for everybody?
We would like to welcome everybody that is
Yes.
listening to our impromptu and in medias res opening and foolishness, craziness. We are covering yet again another Marvel series. This is a pretty good outlet for covering Marvel series, I think.
Yeah, I think it is too.
Yeah.
I think it is too. Because
So,
we've done the three big ones. We did Wanda, right? Or the two big ones. We did Wanda. And we did Falcon and the Snowman, Winter Soldier.
mhm.
I do that every time. Falcon and the Snowman.
I know.
Um,
I'm
so-
waiting for Sean Penn and Timothy Hutton to come running out.
and with a big silver arm, and then that's to hold the Falcon on. No,
Yeah, it is.
and now we are doing I think what a lot of people are saying their favorite one. So
Really? I didn't know that. I still kind of like WandaVision, but it is a good one.
me too. But this is Loki with Tom Hiddleston. Yeah, and
It's like, where did
Owen
he come from?
Wilson.
He is such a great actor, and now he has played Loki like 10 times in 10 different movies.
Yeah, came from he's done a lot of Shakespeare. He's done Hamlet. He's done Macbeth. He comes from theater pedigree
Good
before he
stock.
started doing film and stuff. Yes, so he's done a lot of of good stuff before he started. Not that this is bad stuff. I don't mean that.
No.
But that's basic. I mean, the first I really heard of him was Avengers. It's the first time I ever saw him because I didn't. No, it was the very first Thor.
No,
Thor.
I think he's in event. No, wait. No, you're right. Thor did come before the first Avengers movie. So yeah, it would have been Thor.
Yeah. That's the first I'd really seen of him. And looking back before then, he had only done some British stuff, basically.
Mhm.
But man, is he popular right now?
He's a fabulous actor, and now
Mhm.
of course they're dressing characters at Disney World up like him, which is kind of funny too.
Well, so what was wait, so this was, I guess, for those of you who haven't watched it, why are you listening to us? If you have watched it, yay, welcome back, and let's talk about it. I found this was interesting because it was short, right? Now, what correct me if I'm wrong, but what wasn't Wanda like 12 episodes?
I think it was 9.
9. Okay, it was
an
9.
odd number if I remember right.
And Winter Soldier was like 9 or 10.
No,
right?
Winter Soldier was short. It was only 6.
This one's only 6.
Let me double check that, but I think Winter Soldier was only 6.
I thought it was more, but I know this one is only 6, which I found short. But then again, thinking of the story, you basically have a singular plot line, so they think they stretched it out for as long as they could, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. This to me was a big setup for the next wave of Marvel movies.
Yeah, I mean,
there's 6 episodes of Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Okay, so initial take, and I think I mentioned this once in the podcast that this one seems like a setup to me. The whole thing just seems like a setup. It's the only purpose it has is to get us all thinking about timelines and multi-time so they can do whatever they want. And in a way, I feel like that's a big cop out. I'm hoping that I don't feel that way by the end of this quote phase of Marvel. But one of the things that I don't like about or didn't like about comic books when I tried them a few times, or when people would justify comic books to me, was nobody stays dead. Nobody stays the way they are. If they're a villain, they might turn up years later as the good guy. If they're the good guy, they may turn into a villain. And I guess I like my storytelling more linear than that.
Oh my God. Kids, get off his lawn.
I just like, I'm not big into reboots and reimaginings either, sort of thing. So I don't like that. Hang on. I don't like reboots and reimaginings either.
You just jumped to another planet really quickly, did you?
It was a different time. I had to run. I've really been here before. This is the sixth time.
I've got one of those zappers that makes you go back just 10 seconds.
Yeah, just 10 seconds. Because to me, there's no stakes then. I don't care. And this is a great example.
That Black Widow should stay dead.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Correct. And I'm hoping she will. And by the same token, really though, I was kind of hoping Loki would stay dead. And he didn't. But
he's a god.
Yeah.
Actually, they're not immortal. They just live a really long time.
Yeah. Well, okay. Now the Eternals are immortal though.
Uh-huh. So it looks very Anne Rice to me.
The Eternals?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Wait till you see the trailer, because they even have a line that we have to find the rest of them. Uh-huh. And so they start looking for all the ones they haven't seen in 1,000 years.
Yeah, it's got a heavy Anne Rice vibe. They may not be vampires, but they're immortal. So they've been around a long time. Yeah.
But so, I couldn't really get into Loki a lot and be convicted, because I kept feeling like it was all a setup for something else. And the story would not end. It's just going to be a jumping off point kind of thing. I felt that from the very first episode. So, but that's enough about what did you think? Did you like it?
I love it. I think it's a lot of fun. I thought it was, he's such a quirky character, and he plays comedy and drama equally well. And I thought it was a great vehicle for him to do both in. Especially casting like Luke Wilson against him. Is it Luke Wilson?
I think it's Owen.
Owen Wilson. Excuse me. I got his brother in there. Owen Wilson, I thought was great in it. I love the girl that plays the female Loki. I can't remember her name.
Sylvie.
What? Sylvie.
Yeah.
I don't know. The whole series had a very fantastical vibe to it. It was big and some of the images and effects rivaled Marvel movies, I thought.
Yeah, I think both Wanda and Loki and, Falcon and Winter Soldier, if you think about the action sequences, like on the trucks and the final episode and all that, they don't feel like television. They feel like big, huge, epic movies. Uh-huh. So they're very grandiose. I love the aesthetic of Loki. I really like the whole, paper and stamps and the bureaucracy and the waiting in line. I loved all of that kind of aesthetic to it. That kind of, we're middle management in a 1950s firm or something, had that kind of,
even though the decor was more Art Deco, it was like the 50s. Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, it was. So I love the kind of, the overall aesthetic, the costume design, everything else. Mm-hmm. Also I agree with you. I think this is a huge vehicle for Tom Hiddleston. Mm-hmm. He was, to take, because he literally in the first episode, he still is the Loki from Avengers. Mm-hmm. He still is the evil, mean. I just almost conquered New York, kind of Loki. And to see his arc in this whole 6-episode storyline go to where by the end of it, he's the good guy. He really is the good guy. He's the hero.
He is, but he could easily go back if he wanted.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but he's Loki, and that's what he
Right.
does. I have been told that this has a lot of Marvel comic book Easter eggs and influences and everything, even down to, when he sees all the other variant Lokis, and they all are other Lokis that were in the comic books.
Well, the one that the British actor played mainly that I remember, Richard E. Grant, that version is the classic Loki that you see in comic books for sure.
Right. But even young Loki, he's part of a whole offshoot
Yes,
Marvel
I didn't know that, but
issue thing. There's another variant Loki that's like it. And I was just, so I was going, okay, so they've got the Marvel roots, they've got the cred to do it. They've got a great, brilliant actor. And I agree with you. I think Owen Wilson is phenomenal in this.
What's funny is what you're saying is that what contradicts and what is funny that you're talking about it at the moment is that even though all those are from comic books, this is the first Marvel property that's not based on a comic book. The story was not used in the comics.
Right. It's well, was Wanda used in the comics?
Yes. It was taken from several different comics. I think Wanda had her own comic. Wanda and Vision had a comic. There was one comic where they had kids and they took pieces left and right from it and made it into that property. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. But so this one in the story of and
if you go to Nerdist, they'll tell you the issues and the numbers and stuff.
Probably.
I'm serious. Probably. Yeah. I mean, I saw it on something because I was trying to catch the Easter eggs and stuff when I was watching WandaVision, and I was reading something every night as we watched it or right after that said what was from what and all that. This episode, this series was not based on a comic. And one of the reasons I like it is, well, two reasons actually. Michael Waldron created it, and Michael Waldron is the head honcho for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. So you already have somebody working on this that knows what's going to happen with the Sam Raimi movie.
Okay.
Second, like Captain America Falcon and the Winter Soldier, all 6 episodes were directed by the same person, a woman named Kate Herron. And guess what she directed that I've been trying to get you to watch?
Oh no, what?
Sex Education, that British show with Gillian Anderson.
With Gillian Anderson.
Yeah. And it's very funny and touching at times. And I just thought, oh, this is fabulous. It's a woman and she directs something already that I like, because she did like 4 episodes of 2 seasons of Sex Education. And I think there's only like 6 episodes in the whole thing, 6 and 6. So it was written by the guy that created it, the Doctor Strange guy. But there were a few other ones that were involved, and they were involved in every single episode. So he gave equal credit to the writers on all 6 episodes.
Okay.
I thought that was good.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it is. When you see that consistency behind the scenes, to me, the product usually is better.
Yeah, I think that's the gag that Marvel has done better than almost anyone is the way they've threaded storylines through, the way they've tied stuff together, the way one little insignificant thing here has huge ramifications later on, or vice versa. The Easter egg in this one where they open up the drawer and all the Infinity Stones are just laying in there, and the guy goes, "Yeah, some of the guys use them for paperweights." And you're just like, so in this timeline, they literally mean nothing. They have no power. And then the other one, they destroyed half of the world.
Yeah. And that what if episode, and it's actually Chadwick Boseman's last performance as he's in this second episode of What If. And Thanos is like this this guy. He's just this guy that hangs out at the bar, and he ends up teaming up with like what is Michael Rooker's character? Kondu. Yeah. Yondu. That's it. It's really funny because you see different. I mean, yeah, I don't know. You just see what you're not used to, and you see them in a different context that you know them from those other movies, and now you see them like you said. All of a sudden, they're not a bad guy; they're a good guy.
But see, to me, how much of that is just an in joke or has to deal with just literally the title of the series, which is What If? It's like you're just playing a game of what if. And what are the permutations thereof? Anything or not?
Well, in this case, you get to see a reinterpretation of the movie franchise. Like you get to see a reinterpretation of Captain America, the First Avenger. You get to see a reinterpretation of Guardians of the Galaxy and what would have happened in the cases of those positions being switched. So you do get to revisit the property for 30 minutes too.
Yeah, it seems a little fanrific to me, you know? I mean, am I the grumpy old guy, get off my lawn? I mean, because it does. It seems like, we just had an afternoon, so we're just playing What If. And, you know, it's like, oh, why don't we write a new novel where Lestat is actually a whiny good guy? And that'd be a cool novel. Let's just do that.
But let me play devil's advocate, because I agree with you to an extent. I like the funness of this and the multiverse, and also, you know, playing with the films that we know. What I don't like is that thing you sent me the other day about Shang-Chi and all the connections to the Mandarin, and how the Mandarin was seen in various other incarnations and other comic books. And that's when there's so much going on and so much incestuous or whatever overlapping in other worlds, or not other worlds, but other series, that I get confused and I drop out. I'm like, wait, no, this is why I don't read comic books anymore, because there's way too much going on. I don't mind seeing the real one and the What If one. I just don't want to see what they do when they're not working or whatever for, you know, behind the scenes in other stories. It does get convoluted, and it gets too busy and too hard to keep up with. So, and
for me, you end up with, I end up losing investment in the characters.
I can see that.
You know, I like, and yes, I'll admit, I tend to deal more toward the darker or the more depressing or the, you know, I'm not going to watch a rom-com. I'm probably going to watch sci-fi or horror.
You're the tragic musical guy.
I'm the tragic musical guy.
Yeah.
You know, I don't, I'm not big on Carousel was the only good Rodgers and Hammerstein. Why? He died.
Yeah. West Side Story, they die. Rocky Horror, he dies. Jesus Christ Superstar, he dies.
He dies. Yes. So anyway, so I say that to say it's not that I have to have characters die, but it helps. But I need to be invested in them. You know, I liked Steve Rogers sitting there as an old man at the end of this incredible 10-year journey of movies saying, no, I'm fine, because he did go back in time and live his life and did that. And there was, and now he can't just suddenly, now I'm just going to go back and be Steve again. No, I'm going to accept the fact that I'm this age and I am what I am, and I'm not going to go back in time and fix it, sort of thing. But what they've done with Wanda a little bit, because it was more just the powers of it. Now with Loki, it's like we can literally do anything we want. And after What If, it'll really be that way.
Well, but it'll be What If it's animated, you're not going to see them put that kind of money into that, I don't think.
I don't know.
I would be really surprised to see. And plus, they would have to get a lot of the major characters back, and they're not going to do that. They're not going to be able to do that.
Think of what we talked about, though. They have taken two of the biggest villains in the Marvel universe, Loki and Thanos. And in What If, Thanos is just a regular guy. In Loki, he turns into a good guy. You know, And it's not that I don't think characters can augment. Characters can change and everything else, but there's no investment because there is no permanence to anything. Even Owen Wilson's death shocked me. Oh, by the way, spoiler alert, Mobius dies.
Yeah.
But no, he doesn't, because in the next episode he comes back. So, it's kind of like, again, very comic book, seems to work for that genre.
Well, it's
not my favorite.
I mean, you're dealing with different timelines too, and what happens when one gets disrupted. So there's a heavy science fiction element to it as well.
Correct.
But I get the character investment. I think folks tend to resonate with the films they love. I don't think that this new Black Widow movie being out is going to hurt the performance or the story arc of Avengers Endgame.
No, because it happens in there and it's in the same timeline.
Mm-hmm.
It supposedly, I haven't watched it yet, so I can't really tell you.
I think it's a prequel, but yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a prequel. And from what I've heard, they talk about the effects of the blip or the effects of her sacrifice at the very, very end. They talk about it at the very end of Black Widow. So, but, they've shoehorned it into their current timeline. But what they do at the end of Loki is say, no, they're all timelines. Everything is out there now.
Yeah.
Anything is out there. And from what we know just from the title, Doctor Strange is going to do the same thing.
Right. I'm really interested to see what's going to happen in that, especially with him and Wanda both.
Yes.
I don't know how to explain it, but I think you'll like What If. Especially because it's like, oh, wow, I get to go back and kind of revisit these movies again, only with a different turnout.
Perspective.
Yeah, exactly. And it's animated, so you don't feel jilted, but it's the same voices. I thought the guy playing Drax was the same, but it's not. He's the only one I think that they couldn't get back.
Well, do you remember when we watched Castle Rock?
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about that one episode of Castle Rock was so good because it was like a previous episode, but from a totally different perspective. Mm-hmm. And we suddenly got to see and it made the characters so much more powerful because we were seeing it from the other side.
Right.
Sort of thing. I loved that. And that's brilliant writing to me. And that's great character work. And that's cool stuff. But when suddenly the character does something now that changes everything in that timeline, to me, it's a cop-out. It's like, nah, we didn't like what we did, so we're going to erase that and we're going to do it this way instead. Just to get a reaction or just to see what will happen or just
what
to
if
do
it's
something.
Better?
How could it be better? You've already seen it once.
It could be. It could be. I mean,
I don't know. It depends on.
We're used to remakes and reimaginings not being better, but what if one was?
And this is Marvel, so they might do it. The MCU might do it. Kevin, we always trust Kevin Feige and the boys to do what they do. But and I say boys, although the girl who does all the casting is the brilliant one. She's brilliant.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of girls behind the scenes, a lot of women. Like I said, Kate Herron directed all 8 episodes of this.
The female directors are awesome. They've just been great. But I think it just depends on how they do it, what they do, and how much we're invested in how much the character arcs and stories work. Mm-hmm. I like keeping characters ambiguous. I like the fact that there were times when you doubted Mobius. You didn't know what his motivations were, what was happening. And really, they did that with every single character. I'm just looking at that picture behind you and thinking about like Sylvie, the judge, the guard, the big agent, whatever, or officer. Yeah. They each, at times, I mean, they're not their motivation, but their inner motivations you didn't know kept changing. And you were unsure. Are they good? Are they bad? Are they good and bad? Were they bad? Now they're good. I don't know. And I liked that. And that kind of echoed what was happening with Loki. So from a storytelling perspective, I really thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah. I don't know that I have the memory to recap for the people listening the events that happened in Loki, except for the fact that the only place he could find Sylvie was that she was hiding in
Armageddon's.
Yeah, she was hiding in Armageddon. Is that a word? An adjective?
Armageddon's. Yeah.
Yeah, with an S.
In the ends.
Or, world-ending catastrophes.
Yes.
She was, and like I loved when they went back and they were in like Vesuvius or whatever, like Pompeii.
Pompeii, yeah.
That was great. And I loved when they got stuck on the planet with the they got kicked off the train. I loved that episode. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked it. There were lots of elements of this that I liked. Was it a vehicle? It started appearing that way, obviously, toward the end. And of course, when you know that the guy that created it had something to do with the next phase, it's pretty obvious. I mean, you can't hide that.
Mm-hmm.
I have it in my notes. It's intended to have a major impact on the Marvel Cinematic Universe, including links to Doctor Strange and Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantum Mania.
Yep.
Which I don't know anything about. I don't really know a lot about Doctor Strange, except that Sam Raimi's directing it, which excites me.
And Wanda's in it. We know that. So
Right.
That'll be interesting. But
right.
Yeah, I think they're all building. I think Eternals is going to be like one offshoot timeline or one story plot line that's going to go in the next phase. And then all the multiverse and everything else is another plot line. And maybe they'll end up, tying them together at the end kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, according to what IMDb said, that, and you would know this because your mind grasps science fiction timelines better than mine does, but because Loki was captured in Avengers and escaped in this timeline, the events that happened in Dark World, Ragnarok, and Infinity War did not happen to him.
Correct.
That's just wild to me.
He wasn't there.
You're right.
Yeah, he was yanked out of this timeline, so he's in a different one. So yeah, he wasn't there.
Yeah, I thought you would get off on all the time travel stuff.
I like time travel, but for me, I've always been such a stickler about frickin' time travel. Endgame, actually Infinity Wars. No, Endgame is the one that kind of gave the MCU's stance on time travel, which is you don't have to worry about messing with the timeline because it doesn't mess with the timeline because the future becomes your past. You know what I mean? So they made that statement categorically in that big scene. I think we even used it in last season's finale. We used that whole quote.
Back to the Future and them naming all the movies. Yeah.
You mean Back to the Future is just a bunch of bullshit?
Yeah. Right.
Because what they say is you can't change the present by the past because there will be no more present when you go to the past. Your present becomes your future. I mean, the past becomes your
past becomes your future.
Yes. So no, it wouldn't alter anything because, but to me, yes, it does. Because like you just said, Loki is no longer in that timeline. He's not a part of Ragnarok. He doesn't get the skull and reanimate the demon or whatever, kind of thing.
Well, I mean, it was very similar again, back to that What If episode. If Chala or Cha-Cha, as Nebula refers to him, became Star-Lord, then none of the events in the Avengers movie would happen. And when they're at the collectors, you see Captain America's shield and Thor's hammer in one of those boxes.
No, okay.
So it's like something happened to them, and you just don't know what. But
well, let me ask you, because you've seen too, is the Captain Carter timeline the same as the T'Challa is Star-Lord timeline?
Yeah,
Or is it two different timelines?
I would think so, as much as Guardians was a part of the timeline of that phase of Marvel films. Yeah, I would think so.
But you're saying just like in Loki, they had the grand, the master timeline.
Mm-hmm.
And when they would start to branch off, the reason for the TVA was to go and stop that so that it stayed in the master timeline. So you're saying in What If, it's not the master timeline, it's a different timeline, but it's the same timeline, right?
I lost you somewhere. My power blinked and I was afraid I was going to lose you.
No. So it's not the master timeline. It's not the same timeline as we saw in the whole phase 1 through 4 through Endgame. It's a different timeline where there is no Captain America Steve Rogers. It's Captain Carter. And there is no, what's his name is Star-Lord. T'Challa is Star-Lord. And that's on the same timeline down here.
I think so, but who knows? I mean, when you see the credits, the Watcher is a character I do remember from the comic books, and he's the narrator of this show.
Okay.
He talks about multiverses, and they have this image of like a mirror shattering, and you just see pieces and reflections going out in all these little pieces of the mirror. And these are what he sees, different things happening. For instance, in the Captain America, or not Captain America, but Peggy Carter one, Steve Rogers doesn't end up with the super soldier serum. She does. But things still happen with Steve Rogers, which are kind of cool. It's just a what if scenario. It's like a reinterpret. It's like if you pitched different versions of the same story at a meeting, when they say, come, these are your characters, come out with your best stories.
Right. And I understand that. And I understand that they could do that and they can play with it. I don't know what the permutations are, or if there are any, or is this just a fun, grand experiment? We're just playing a game. What if this happened?
Well, and I guarantee you, I mean, I could be wrong, but I know I've already told you that the show What If is going to do Marvel Zombies in the 8th episode. I don't know what
you've already probably got it
in.
on your. You've got it on your calendar, probably. You're ready to go.
I am so ready. I love those books, man. They are vicious and brutal, and I am really jacked to see what's going to happen. But I don't know if it's in the same timeline. If it is, then fuck Thanos, man. Earth is gone. Pretty much.
Regardless of timeline concept, what were your key things that you're not keys, but what were your big elements that you liked about this series? Other than we've talked about the performances. So,
I do want to say a little bit more about the cast. Primarily, you mentioned that guard that's in the picture behind me. She is played by Wunmi Mosaku, and she is the woman that played one of the refugees in that scary movie, His House, that I told you about on Netflix.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And as soon as I saw her, I was like, oh my God, I'm so glad she's working because she's fantastic. So anyway, that we talked about Owen Wilson and Tom Hiddleston. The only other one is that I didn't know this, and this is from a comic book, so this could very well happen. But the lady that plays Renslayer, Owen Wilson, Mobius's boss,
yes,
is played, I cannot pronounce this, Gugu Mbatha Raw is her name.
I remember Gugu, yeah.
Gugu. Gugu. I didn't realize that Ravonna Renslayer is known in the comics as the love interest of the time-traveling villain Kang the Conqueror, who is going to debut in Ant-Man and the Wasp. And I know Kang. I remember him from the comic books.
Well, we met Kang in this one too. That's who was in the final episode.
Well, in the comic books, he was kind of he looked a lot different. He looked more like Thanos. He was very space alien looking. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, though. He'll have multiple Kangs because there's multiverse.
Right.
And
right.
according to that actor, he was hired with like a 7-contract deal, 7-movie contract. So he'll be Kang in all their different permutations.
He's going
of Kang.
to be
I'm sure
the
there'll
new
be
Thanos. Yeah,
yeah.
I would
Yeah.
say he'll be the
Kang
new
will be
Thanos.
the new big bad kind of things we
Right.
used to say in Buffy world, sort of
Right.
thing. Casting wise, I really liked Sophie too, or Sylvie. I thought Sylvie was really strong.
Her real name is Sophia, but Sylvie is the
okay.
character name. Yeah, I liked her too. Richard E. Grant is fabulous. He's only in one episode, but he's fabulous. Or maybe he's in more than one.
He's in 2.
Okay,
he's in the last 2.
Yeah, he gets vaporized if I remember right. Kid Loki was kind of funny. You and I joked, I think, on the last podcast about Marvel, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, that he could potentially show up in the Young Avengers project that's going on.
Yeah, please.
I never did care for the young versions. I hated Teen Titans.
Yeah, and nobody likes Scrappy Doo either. I'm sorry, we don't like baby versions.
No. I don't have anything else on cast, but I did think it was kind of funny that one of them was an alligator.
I thought that was a great touch. I really credit the writers and the director for going with that, because even as an alligator, he was still a Loki alligator. There were times when you thought he was cute and nice, and other times when he would jump up and bite your arm off, and it was good.
Yeah.
I can't, we have to admit, we have to mention with casting, what's her name? Miss Manners, or Miss Time or whatever, Miss Minutes.
The little animated clock.
Yeah. Love that voice. And I love the fact that they went for that Southern, hi y'all, kind of, here we go. Kind of, that was really another.
It was.
Cool
I thought I put
I
her in my notes and I forgot to. Sorry.
She was cool.
She is great. Well, I just realized I'm looking at my keys, and I don't know if you actually we're obviously not doing keys, but they're down as keys. But
yeah, stuff.
One of the reasons why you may not have liked this is a similar reason to why you didn't like Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And that is that Owen Wilson compares his relationship with Loki to the comedies 48 Hours, Catch Me If You Can, and Good Will Hunting.
Yeah. Buddy movie. Yeah. And later on, it becomes a buddy movie with him and Sylvie, who is himself, essentially.
I know. That was cool when he kissed himself. I was like, ooh, there's all kinds of weird psychology going on here.
Yeah. Talk about a narcissist, man. But
I love myself. I want to kiss myself. Never mind.
I really compliment, because I talk about direction a lot and visuals and cinematography and all that. I really liked that episode. It's like not the penultimate, next to last. So I guess it's the 4th episode, the one when they were got off the train and were trying to get away and get to the rocket that was leaving the planet, because the planet was being bombarded with meteors from a supernova or whatever. There's one shot in that although it is 3 different shots, looks like one seamless shot, and they built practical sets for it, and it's just incredible, that huge run through the town as it's being bombarded by asteroids.
It's a moon that's like disintegrating, and they're getting pummeled by a moon that's breaking into pieces. Yeah, it's awesome.
And that's the same episode that also has that wonderful scene with just the 2 of them sitting there by like that purple lake or whatever. And they almost kiss, and you get this reference to a Nexus moment that was like off the charts, freaking out the TVA and everything else. Because evidently them kissing or falling in love would do something to the timeline, which I'm sure it would. But that was just really a cool scene between the 2 of them. And then they hearken back to it in the last episode before they go confront Kang for half an hour of dialogue.
Which was really odd to me.
Yeah, but they're both
climatic.
And very interesting that that's the choice they had for this this series. The last 35 minutes are basically three people talking,
Yeah.
in a room. And that's it. Not a big, huge action set piece, not a big, huge special effects thing, whatever.
Yeah.
So I thought it was interesting. But
that,
no, the
that
scene
would be
where
one of my disappointments is that usually Marvel knows how to build a climax. And in this one, it was
Yes.
sort of anticlimactic. Yeah.
very much. But I like the scene like before that in that same episode where they're both just sitting there in the grass, and he makes the cloak and because they're cold, and then he kind of sees that she's cold and he waves his hand and the cloak kind of changes and goes around her.
Uh-huh.
And it was just little touches like that were in character, but very not Loki, kind of a new Loki kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
I love the way they did stuff like that. That was really cool.
Yeah.
I like the Richard E. Grant Loki doing the sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
He killed himself to, I like that monster. I just wish they'd done more with it other than just make it look cool.
Yeah, that monster was cool.
The cloud monster.
I liked him revisiting Asgard and seeing Rene Russo too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. What's his? It was his wife, and she was also in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Syl, the one that kept coming out and slapping him. His like ex-wife, Loki's ex-wife or whatever.
The one that kept when he got stuck in the time loop and she kept coming out and slapping him. Yes.
Yeah.
I do know who you're talking about.
And that same actress was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as Syl on Earth in two different episodes. It was really cool the way they tied it all together. But yeah, I thought that was a good one. I also thought that was an interesting kind of the TVA's version of solitary confinement is they put you in a loop of something really, really horrible.
Really awful. And it's basically him getting kicked in the balls, wasn't it? Over and over again. Yeah.
And told that how terrible he was.
Yeah.
Just over and over again. Yeah, that would, I thought that was cruel and unusual punishment, sort of thing. You'd already mentioned the clickers. I thought those clicker things were kind of cool, that they could just jump people back 10 seconds or whatever.
That was awesome. And also the fact that they could just do those, open those doors and walk into another timeline.
Yeah, with the pads.
Right, because that's how they got rescued in that scene you were talking about, where they were sitting there watching the world be destroyed. All of a sudden, the doors opened up behind them.
Yeah,
and it was, I think, Owen Wilson. I've got a note here. For some reason, I did my notes like we would a Johnny episode. I've got it under keys. The show's creators cite a wide variety of influences. The science fiction films Brazil, Metropolis, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Alien, Blade Runner, Jurassic Park, and then the crime films Silence of the Lambs, Seven, Zodiac, Catch Me If You Can, and then also the films of Quentin Tarantino, and the action films Armageddon, and the kids shows Teletubby, and the fantasy story Toy Story, and the comedy Rick and Morty, and the dramas Mad Men and Before Sunrise. Now,
really, somebody just wrote that BS down. I mean, that's kind of like
some of it I get, some of it I don't get at all. Some of
it's like
Brazil and Metropolis. I get Hitchhiker's Guide. I don't get Alien or Blade Runner. Well, maybe Blade Runner. I don't get Jurassic Park. I definitely get Silence of the Lambs, because anytime you see a Loki behind glass or a prison, he looks like he could be a Hannibal Lecter. And because he's very dangerous. But the drama Mad Men was all over that show. All that paper and then people walking around in that office building was very Mad Men. So I just thought that was interesting.
Some of that is like, it's a multiverse of influences.
Yeah,
we were influenced by everything.
Yeah. I think, but I told you that he co-wrote all the episodes with 3 other people. That could have been how a storyboard meeting went. Let's do a little Mad Men. Let's do a little.
Throw the Mad Men in there. Hey, the big monster at the end could be like the T-Rex in Jurassic Park.
Well, I don't
yeah.
buy that, but yeah, maybe that is what they're referring to now that you mention it. I don't know. So, and then the only other note I have is to promote, and I thought this was fabulous, to promote the show. General Mills and Marvel announced that they would release 3,500 specially branded boxes of Lucky Charms cereal titled Loki Charms, and on the same day as the series was released. Can you imagine how valuable those things are?
That'd be awesome. I got my box of Loki Charms.
Loki Charms.
They're magically delicious. Yes.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that I disliked it. I just thought that I couldn't get invested in it. I could like some of the performances, but nothing had any lasting impact to me. Even down to the end when they finally, shatter the timeline, essentially. I'm like, and like, we didn't think that was going to happen, really. I mean, the next setup is Multiverse of Madness. So yeah. I'm pretty sure that's what they were doing. Now, we do have to say, and I think we mentioned on the podcast once, that people are saying that the whole last episode is intentional timing to coincide with Wanda to show that they're in the same quote universe or timeline.
Yeah, you told me about this. I was unaware of it.
So yeah, supposedly if you start the final episode of Loki and the ninth, the last episode of WandaVision at the same time, you can scrub or fast forward or whatever. When you get to near the end, there's a scene where the Kang character, is talking to both of them, and all of a sudden, right in the middle of a phrase, he stops and he looks, and he takes a long time, and he sits back, and it's like he's watching something, and then he kind of comes back and has this realization, is like, huh, and then goes on with the scene. Well, if you watch them simultaneously, when that happens is when she is fighting Agatha, and it's the first time she realizes she's Scarlet Witch. She has all the power in the sky and all the runes and all the thing, and you realize
it's when
that
Agatha
she is
calls her the Scarlet Witch or something, isn't it?
No, it's not the one where that's in the episode before that, when she has her up on the big purple tentacles and she says, "You are the Scarlet Witch." This is the one where she first wears the red part of the costume and she's up in the air fighting Agatha. And it's the double trick at the end where what she's been shooting at her and missing was actually setting up the runes behind her so she couldn't see, and sort of thing. So they say that it's intentional to show that they're linked together in the same universe.
Are you supposed to start them at the same time?
Yeah.
And just watch them simultaneously?
Well, yeah, watch them side by side. Fast forward.
Wouldn't be able to fast forward.
Yeah, you could if you fast forward at the same time. Yeah. I don't know.
Hard.
Watch it together. It's the internet. Things happen. I don't know. That's what they said. I haven't done it myself. But no, if you look it up, you can watch, and people have isolated that scene and play it at the same time. And you can see him. And it does look like he's reacting to her and what she's saying. And then realizing, wow, she is a really powerful, this is going to be bad. Okay, let's keep going with what we were talking about, kind of thing.
Okay.
So,
well, and I guess because he's Kang, he can just see it to his left.
Well, yeah, because he sees, remember, he said in the dialogue that he saw all of the possibilities and finally settled on this one because this is the one that he could control and could, use the TVA and the timekeepers and the Minutemen and all them to preserve this timeline, which would stop what did he call it? A multi-dimensional war or something like that.
I think he did say something about that.
And that they had one before, and this was the only way to prevent one from happening again, sort of thing. And then when Loki goes back, there's not timekeepers, there's only one Kang. And that's what the image is at the end. He only sees one Kang and not the three Time Lords.
I will say this. I do find it a little odd that Marvel is continuing this next wave of new Marvel with a heavy time travel element, because that played in hugely to the end of the last one. I mean, I guess it's carryover. I don't know.
Yeah, I just hope it doesn't become a crutch. It
Well,
can
that's what I'm saying. They've got to do
easily.
something else eventually.
I hope so. But, you know, when you get into time and time travel and everything else, it just becomes a cop out because nothing has any, because, oh, I'll just go back and reset it. Or, oh, I'll just go back and fix it. Or I'll just go back and be a good guy. You know what I mean? There's no consequence because nothing is permanent.
But we
Time
loved
is
it
fluid.
in Avengers.
Avengers, they were trying to reset the timeline.
Mm-hmm.
They were trying to stop what happened, a moment in the timeline, and stop that timeline. So the restoration that they did, they restored everything and came back. So they fixed all of, like, if we use Loki speak, every time they went back and got a stone, they created a branch off of that timeline.
Mm-hmm.
But what Steve Rogers did at the end was go back, reset them all, and then decide to stay there with Peggy for 70 years or whatever until he came back. You know what I mean? So it's the same timeline. They didn't reset anything. They just stopped. They reset the blip. They stopped Thanos from destroying everyone.
But the blip happened.
No, I'm sorry. I said that totally wrong. It's not that they stopped the blip, which they could have done in a different multiverse. There could not have been a blip. What they did in this one was they restored the timeline and brought everybody back from the blip.
I'm lost.
It's time.
Well, I know, and it's confusing, but when you say he went back and reset, he couldn't have gone back and put all the Infinity Stones back, because then Thanos would have just got them again.
Correct. And what happened would still happen. He created the loop that happened.
Or is it because they killed him and then went back and reset it? I don't know. That doesn't make sense. That would mean Black Widow could come back.
No, nothing can come back. Everything would be the same. What they did was preserve the timeline by going back and putting everything where it was, so that, yes, he could still get it. And yes, it still happens. And yes, the collector still dies and all of that. And he still does do the blip. And 5 years later, they come back because it's reset all the way down.
I'm confused.
Okay. If they didn't do it, then there would be the end of Endgame wouldn't happen, or most of Endgame wouldn't happen. In other words, everybody would stay blipped.
No, I'm talking about when Steve goes back at the end. I'm not talking about the movie itself. I'm talking about the denouement.
Right. If Steve did not go back, their timeline would eventually unravel, because none of the stones were there to do what they just did. Because they have all the stones.
I'm glad I'm watching all this over again.
Yes. Just watch it in order and enjoy it.
I am in Guardians films right now, actually.
That's the issue that you run into with time travel, is time travel can easily become a writer's cop-out, because it either you change the mechanics of time travel, or you just reset and everything can just be different, or we just go back to the beginning and it's a loop, sort of thing. That's my problem with time travel. Even though Ellison did write some really cool time travel stories. I like his work usually, but time travel can easily become a crutch. And I agree with you that I don't I'm worried about what the MCU will create as true villains and true heroes and all of that without time being the cop-out.
Well, I don't see them going off and disrupting the reputations of people like Captain America or Iron Man. We'll see. I mean, they can do it in What If and have fun with it because it's animated, but I mean, there's kind of a prototype Iron Man in the first episode of What If because Tony Stark's father's in it.
No, my thing is, okay, here's my fear of phase 5 or 6, 7, whatever of the MCU.
Well, that's a good way to go to end this, branching out on what we think might happen.
Trying to recreate lightning in a bottle again by giving us what worked in the past, only a variant version of it. So we'll have a Captain America, but she'll be a female, or she'll be a black guy, or whatever.
Yeah.
That flies. Or we'll have a Black Widow, but it won't be her, it'll be her sister, and she'll be Red Scorpion or something, but it'll be the same character, fulfill the same niche, and do the same thing, rather than explore and go and do, we'll have a Kang who will be our new Thanos, sort of galactic ending force sort of thing in a different way. Maybe he wants to stop the timeline rather than balance the world or the galaxy kind of thing. And in other words, go to like 10 types and templates rather than try something different and go somewhere different and do something different. We need an Iron Man. We need a Captain America. Loki's going to become our new Iron Man, or whatever.
I mean, it's unfortunate that they obviously Iron Man has to go, Captain America has to go. I don't know what the fuck they're doing with Black Panther, but technically they've lost him too because he's dead. I think you're right. I think they need to create something new that is just as powerful. And honestly, I think the way they enlist talent is a good method of doing that.
Yes.
So hopefully that will work. I mean, hopefully they're not saying, no, Sam Raimi, it has to be like this. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And they haven't done that in the past. So hopefully they are. But they have a challenge. They have to recreate magic, lightning in a bottle again. But they seem, I agree with you. I think they seem like they could be equipped to do it. And maybe they'll surprise us.
Well, and also they got the guy that directed Ragnarok. He's very his own voice too.
Tiki Watati.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
And you remember how in Ragnarok? Oh, not Ragnarok. I think. Yeah. One of the movies. I've seen so many Marvel movies here lately. Howard the Duck made an appearance at the Collectors. Like it's in Guardians. I think you see Howard the Duck. Well, he's in the second What If episode too. Seth Green does his voice.
Perfect.
It's funny. Yeah. But yeah, I think originality will come from the talent they enlist, and hopefully they can afford it. I mean, they can afford it. Hopefully they don't go cheap.
And they have a treasure trove of Marvel history that they've been tapping into every now and then too. Right. So that's a good thing.
And they're gonna have, I mean, obviously talent will grow expensive with success, but there's no reason why they can't find another Tom Hiddleston or somebody of that caliber to play these parts and let America fall in love with them all over again.
True.
You know what I mean?
True. It's just that, again, I don't want it to be a rinse and repeat of a superhero saga. You know what I mean? There needs to be new stakes and new stuff and new things. And what always made Marvel work for me is even, what's his name? Like even the dude that's the bad guy in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. The guy from
France, Batroc.
No, the bad guy, Venmo or Vinco or the bad guy. Shoot. He was in Civil War. He was a survivor of Sokovia who wanted to recreate super soldiers. And He's the bad guy in Falcon and the Winter Soldier that they have to get out of prison to help them. You know the one I'm
Oh,
talking about.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about now. I can't think of his name. I'm looking him up.
But the cool
Because
thing,
there were several villains in Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
There were.
And
There were.
that chick from Shield may be one, and we don't know her name. I mean, I can't think of her name either.
Oh, Carter. She's Carter's granddaughter or niece.
Zemo, Baron Zemo was the guy you're thinking of.
Yeah. You know, he had a really cool personal story that went along with it. It wasn't just I'm a bad guy, you know. And so if they keep exploring that stuff, that's what keeps me invested in the movies.
What I want them to do, and granted, I haven't read these comics in forever, so I probably don't have a basis to go on, but I want them to just go back and find the really, really popular stories that they've already done, that people already celebrated. And, you know, this whole Civil War, Thanos Infinity Stone story was part of that legacy of the comics. I didn't read it. It happened in the 90s, but I trust, you know, the writers from the original comics. Do those stories. Go out and mine for gold. Marvel's been around for a very long time. So there's plenty of material out there. Just go find the good stuff. And then, you know, if you have to put a modern spin on it, that's fine.
I agree.
I mean, because Iron Man obviously did not, he came out of like 60s. I don't think he came out of the 2000s.
No.
So anyway, we have gone way long, but I hope that all these nerds out here have gotten off on all this Marvel universe talk. Cinematic.
We'll just go back and reset time.
Yeah, we'll go reset time. I'll go edit this.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, we thank you for joining us here on Patreon. We thank you for your support. If you happen to catch this video, I'll probably put it on YouTube too, because I think this one's going to go out to the masses. Please subscribe and share, and click that little bell button to let us know, and also comment. You know, we would like to hear from you as well. I really surprised somebody the other day by mentioning their name in an episode. He was so excited. Did you see that?
You never know. Yeah, that was awesome.
It was funny. All right. Well, we will talk to you later.
Next time.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Dun, 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 dun.
You can't start the car, Johnny.